Welcome to this week's important message, 10 mineral balancing mistakes not to make. Hi there, I'm Sarah Korzeniewski, registered dietitian, functional medicine and lifestyle practitioner, transformational coach, founder of The Organic Dietitian, and co-partner with Jen at the Wellness Code Academy. So let's jump into one of my favorite topics, and hopefully yours, minerals. Minerals are a hot topic in the functional medicine wellness space today, and for good reason, because they are the spark plugs of our cellular body, which literally runs every system that we have, including our digestive system, immune systems, endocrine systems, nervous systems, detoxification systems. So without proper balance and without enough minerals in the cell, all of these systems don't function well, and we also don't have enough energy to deal with emotions or unresolved traumas. Joining a growing trend, more and more practitioners and self-healers are turning to a tool called an HTMA, or a hair tissue mineral analysis test, as a reliable tool for assessing their minerals and hopefully correcting imbalances in order to improve their health. And this is a positive step towards improvement in our health and life. However, Jen and I see many mistakes being made when it comes to mineral balancing, which I wanted to share some of those with you in today's video. It's important to remember that these are common errors, and by learning from them, we can all work towards a more balanced approach to health and life optimization. So let's dive in to the list of 10 common mineral balancing mistakes not to make. All right, number 1, interpreting minerals on a hair tissue mineral analysis test as is without learning to read between the lines. Oftentimes when people start out using the HTMA, they just assume low minerals mean low and high minerals mean there's too much, and are simply using the test without understanding what deeper information we can gather from not only the mineral levels themselves, but also the balances of minerals, which are often more important than just the single levels. Number 2, believing that taking minerals, particularly in the form of supplements of some kind, is really the biggest solution to balancing minerals. And oftentimes what we see as well is people recommending way too many supplements overall. Jen and I believe in and teach in our practitioner training programs a less is more approach. Really, we've run into a outdated standard traditional medicine model where we run labs and recommend tons of supplemental protocols in order to address the findings that show up on the lab. And this is really not working. There is tons of social proof out there, and maybe you are one of these people where you've gone down this road and it didn't help you at all, or potentially made you worse, because supplements are not the reason why minerals got out of balance and why our health starts to decline in the first place. So supplements may not be a good initial first step at all, but they should be used very strategically and conservatively. Number 3, using and relying on the hair tissue mineral analysis test and minerals as a way to uncover more about the physical body, but not paying at all enough attention to how HTMA can actually reveal the mental and emotional body, as well as the role unresolved trauma may be playing in one's current health and life. And this is something that we see a lot of other HTMA programs or HTMA practitioners maybe learning this much about, but they really are not taught or skilled enough in the area of addressing the psychological aspect of mineral balancing, and they're focusing more heavily on just the physiological aspect. But what I really want you to understand is that when we use HTMA properly and when we really understand minerals in a much deeper level, it can actually reveal physiological aspects, but also psychological aspects of one's current position. And we cannot heal one without the other. Number 4, this may not make sense to you if you don't really know or haven't heard of HTMA, but if you are trained in HTMA or have used it in your practice, or maybe you've run one on yourself, you may have heard the term metabolic type or oxidation type. And a lot of HTMA practitioners and a lot of HTMA training programs basically are using the metabolic rate or the oxidation rate as a way to recommend certain supplements and certain diets. And we may be one of the very few people that actually call BS on this, because that is really just treating the lab and treating a marker that is only looking at 2 minerals, calcium and phosphorus, and that is not taking the actual person who you're running the HTMA on into account. And that also tends to cause one to recommend a lot of supplements in order to manipulate the lab or manipulate the body to do something that it is just not ready to do or not capable of doing. And the mistake that I see being made when people rely on the metabolic rate to recommend supplements and diets is they often then are more likely to run into clients who are very sensitive to those recommendations, and then the practitioner doesn't know how to support them. And this is something that we actually will teach more within our HTMA program. Number 5, hyper-focusing on specific mineral presentations such as a calcium shell or copper toxicity without looking at the big picture and the deeper picture. I have a lot of people who reach out to me asking me for my input on their HTMA results because they went to a practitioner and had the test run, and they sat down and told them that they had a calcium shell or that they had copper toxicity, or maybe checked a lot of boxes off on a copper toxicity, even if it's not necessarily presenting itself right out of the gate. And then they want to know what they can do to address those specific patterns or those specific minerals. And oftentimes these people come to me with the idea that all of their problems can be resolved if they just address the calcium shell, or they're just able to finally address the copper imbalances. And while yes, these things can affect us physically, mentally, and emotionally, but they're just one small part of a bigger puzzle. And so we don't want to just hyper focus on one thing or the other. We want to actually really take a step back and start asking bigger questions, including what maybe contributed to those imbalances in the first place. What are those imbalances actually telling me about my physical body, my lifestyle, and my mental and emotional body? And how can I start supporting building wellness in my overall life, my environment, my mind, and in my body? Number 6, learning how to interpret an HTMA and looking at minerals as a way to actually make recommendations or tell clients what to do to support their health, without learning how to use minerals to actually become an effective transformational coach and use the HTMA as a blueprint to help one heal from physical issues and also any psychological issues, because again, we cannot address one without the other. And I know when I started out as a wellness practitioner and a functional medicine practitioner, I took a lot of different programs. I learned a lot of different labs, and these programs often taught how to recommend supplemental protocols, how to maybe even recommend some lifestyle shifts in order to address the labs mainly, and maybe take the person into account a little bit. But really, it was teaching a lot of what and not enough of how to actually work with clients in a much deeper level, which really left me feeling lost on how to actually coach somebody, how to actually work with them and co-create action steps to help them step into their power and really become their own best self-healer. I spent a lot of time playing the role of fixer and playing the role of pilot in one's healing journey versus learning how to become the co-pilot and give the client that power to really take action and again become their own best self-healer. So I really felt lost on how to actually coach clients. It was more telling them what to do, telling them what to take, telling them, what stress management tools to do, telling them all of these things without bringing them in and allowing them to be a big part of their journey, which is really where we heal the best, when we are able to take the reins, take responsibility, and have coaches that can ask effective questions and really are more mentors and guides on our journeys. And so that's why we knew we had to create a program that didn't just teach a lot of the what, that taught a lot of the how to actually work with clients in this way and how to actually coach them on this important journey. Number 7, believing that HTMA and balancing minerals is a quick fix. We all are naturally programmed to seek quick fixes. Nobody wants to actually have to make significant changes that might be uncomfortable, changes that really require us to step outside of the box and change the way that we're showing up in the world. But mineral balancing, I hate to break it to you, but this is the honest truth, like healing, is a long game. And it cannot be done with just running one HTMA and a few months of working on balancing minerals, taking supplements, and maybe a few other tweaks along the way. Number 8, I see a lot of people thinking that, hey, I'm taking some sort of general electrolyte supplement. I'm drinking an electrolyte powder or mix every day, and so this must be taking care of my minerals and it must be balancing them properly. And this is far from the truth. We need to actually see what is going on in your individual body and what your individual needs are. But we also have to remember, again, minerals are also a reflection of the mental and emotional body. And so minerals cannot be corrected if we are not also addressing those important psychological factors that can be throwing minerals out of balance in the first place. We also cannot balance minerals when we have a gut that is very toxic and very dysfunctional, and so then we're not absorbing things well. We cannot balance minerals when we're eating a diet that continues to fuel inflammation or aggravate the immune system, which is going to negatively affect the entire body, including adding more stress, which is going to further dysregulate minerals. So I see this a lot. People are taking things, they're taking supplements thinking I'm covered, and then they run an HTMA and that's far from the truth. Or people run an HTMA and again, they're put on a supplement protocol and maybe they make a few tweaks, with sleep and stress and, follow some sort of an elimination diet of some kind. And then they get the HTMA back as a retest and those minerals haven't budged. I see this all the time. And part of that is often because they're missing a huge piece of the puzzle, which is that psychological, mental, emotional piece and unresolved trauma, which unfortunately very few practitioners are really taught how to properly navigate with their clients. Number 9 leads me to a similar point in the fact that we're not considering bioindividual nutrition on a mineral balancing journey. I see this a lot with practitioners who are seeking help. They got an HTMA test back. They got this client that they're working with, and they're trying to come up with recommendations to provide to their clients to address the imbalances that are found on the HTMA to hopefully improve their health. And they say, hey, but my client is already eating clean, or they're eating a whole foods diet, so I must not need to make any tweaks there. And then here's the list of all these supplements that I need to give them to support the minerals. And I kind of roll my eyes when I see these types of things, because nutrition, of course, it is not the only factor in overall health and healing, but it is a pretty darn important aspect. And while great if someone is eating whole foods and eating clean, that is definitely a great starting point, and they're already doing a lot better than probably the vast majority of people out there. But the true reality is that there's more to determining if a food is good for us than its nutritional value. It's all about what the individual person can digest, break down, and assimilate. It's all about what the individual gut can tolerate. If we are eating anything that continues to fuel inflammation, blood sugars are out of balance, continues to fuel dysbiosis in the gut, continues to stress out the nervous system, then healing is going to be a big struggle. So there are all types of eating styles out there. There is no one right way for one person. We can't say, hey, everyone should follow X diet. It really has to be a very bio-individual approach. There is also, unfortunately, no lab that we can run to say, hey, these are the foods you should eat, including the HTMA. It really must be targeted towards the individual. And gut health is an important part of mineral balancing, and that's going to be a struggle if one continues to eat foods that doesn't work well for the individual person. So instead of recommending 10, 15, 20 supplements to try to balance HTMA and try to balance minerals, we need to make sure that the diet is serving the individual and supportive of healing, which also might be tweaked along the way, because minerals largely also come from the diet. And so if we're, again, not absorbing those really well, then taking supplements to fill that gap isn't the long-term solution. And lastly, number 10, not taking advantage of learning HTMA and mineral balancing through the lens of trauma, psychoneuroimmunology, and transformational coaching by enrolling in the Holistic HTMA Pro program. Now, yes, Jen and I developed this program, but I can tell you from the hundreds of people that have already gone through the program, we get nothing but rave reviews. A lot of people who've gone through that program have even done other HTMA programs, and they said that those were really just the surface. Ours go much deeper. And so we created this program out of sheer necessity, because Jen and I both took a few HTMA programs and found that they were severely lacking, and really ultimately a lot of them were using an outdated functional medicine approach, and a lot of them maybe touched very here and there on the mental and emotional side of things, but again, didn't really tell people how to actually help guide clients in that way. So we dive into both aspects because we know just how important looking at the big picture is when it comes to healing from any sort of chronic health condition out there. So if this intrigues you and you want to learn more about taking advantage of this one-of-a-kind program then I encourage you to look below at the information, and you can find the links to check out the programs that we offer at Wellness Code Academy. So if you stuck with me, I really appreciate it. I hope you learned a lot. Let me know what you think of this video, and that's a wrap. We'll see you next time.